All right, what's going on, guys? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nate Turley. I'm going to be a junior, and this is my testimony. So I grew up in a Christian household. My parents are Christian, my grandparents are Christians, all my family is pretty much Christians. And I became a Christian around 6 years old after a day of VBS. My testimony isn't some huge revelation or some huge life-changing event that happened, but it definitely becoming Christian definitely helped shape my life. It's a very common testimony in the church, but a very uncommon one in the world. In reality, not many people can say they grew up in a Christian house. So I grew up going to Bethany Church in Long Beach up until 8th grade, and between 3rd and 5th grade, I didn't really like going to church. It felt more like a chore that my parents made me do because it just wasn't fun, and I felt kind of out of place. And I started joining church around middle school when I went up to, called the Herd, and then I started more getting involved in church, and all my friends were there, so I started having fun, but I wasn't really committed. And I felt like I was kind of in a half in, half out mentality throughout all of middle school. And around 7th grade, I started getting more distracted by stuff like girls and school and sports, and I try to make myself seem as cool as I possibly can, and that really wasn't who I was. And so in 8th grade, there's a lot of drama at my old church, so my family decided to move from Bethany over to Arbor Road, which so far has been a huge blessing for all of us. And even then, I still felt like I had a half in, half out mentality of all of church. At church, I always wanted to seem like I had everything figured out. I wanted to seem like I was the guy with all the answers and that I knew what I was talking about with everything. And during small group Sundays and Wednesdays, I would try to give long, elaborate answers so I could seem like I just knew everything, even though that wasn't the case. And when we transferred from MSM to HSM, my mentality kind of changed again, and I started trying to focus less on the distractions in my life, like prioritizing trying to be as cool as possible, trying to impress girls, trying to make my whole life about sports. And that started to help a lot with trying to focus more on church. And in October of freshman year, I got a really bad concussion playing football that derailed my life for about 7 to 8 months. And during those few months, I started to feel really lonely because nobody knew what was going on with me. And I just started distancing myself from everybody. And I also felt really frustrated because people would try to tell me how to get better, how I should be acting during this time, even though they didn't know what they were talking about. And so when I felt overwhelmed, overly frustrated, I would just sit down, play worship music, pray, read my Bible, and that seemed to help a lot. And now looking back at it, I could really see God working in my life through a couple ways. One being my mom and dad deciding to not let us play football anymore. So I started playing volleyball. And that was kind of a humbling time because in my mind, I thought I was going to be the football guy all 4 years of high school. I thought I was going to be the big shot football player my senior year, just having all the colleges trying to get me. But obviously that wasn't the case. It's not what God's plan was for me. So I started playing volleyball. And through that, I also have met a lot of people that I can tell are lifelong friends. And a lot of my best friends now were made because of playing volleyball. Speaking of friends, I was also been blessed with a really close group of guys. I met in early middle school, and we started connecting through church, and then we all went to the same school. And I think it's really uncommon in today's world to have like your best friends through church and school, and I get both, which is a really big blessing to me. And Proverbs 18:24 sums it up perfectly, and it says this: a man of many companions may come to ruin, but there's a friend who sticks closer than a brother. And our close group of friends really feels like it's just a brotherhood of the six of us. And another huge influence on my life is my family. Especially my parents and my grandparents, they're a constant reminder of God's love and just the feeling of community that we have with one another. And I know without that constant influence of my family and my friends and leaders, I definitely would not be where I am today in my walk with Jesus and in life. And more recently, at winter camp, I decided to go all in, try to devote my life completely to God and Jesus in church. And it's been fun to see how God has been working a lot more in my life these past couple months. And it's been exciting to see God work in my life in the past, and I'm excited to see him work in the future. And the best part about all of this is that in reality, this is just the beginning of my walk with Jesus, and I know there's a whole lot more coming in the future. My mom is probably one of the biggest influences in my life of God's love. And if there's one thing I've learned a lot from my mom, is that love is the biggest thing. Showing people love is the easiest way to let other people see God's love. And 1 Corinthians 13:4-8 sums it up perfectly. It says this: love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. And whether it be family or friends, and especially God, I just want to leave you guys with this, that love never fails, especially God's love. And if you're in like a hard point in your life, always turn to God, and his love will steer you straight. So thanks for listening, and yeah.